Hi everyone. I'm going to do a video today. I'm going to tell you a story. I haven't scripted it and I don't have the created theatre energy that you may want, but I'm going to tell you because it's really important and it will tell you the truth of what's been happening for a long time. Something that has just been revealed to me. Things happen where somebody puts up a post, a controlled opposition account puts up a post, and I connect things. I join the dots because I can see a pattern that's now all of a sudden joining. It's almost like a divine miracle. And that's what's happened with the post of the Duchess of Sussex posting about or claiming that Jake Rosenberg was in the hospital filming with Meghan Markle and creating fraud against the Crown, and then the Crown allowing it. Now, I can't promise you that it won't get a bit blurry, a bit hazy with my storytelling, because it's very emotional for me. And it sounds silly to say, okay, but I'm human. And the emotions I feel are the emotions that have been suppressed with censorship, with the smearing, with the control, the suffocating control I felt for 2 years, but I haven't had an answer for. And when I finally have an answer for it, things come out like anger, like fear, like anxiety. And you can hear it probably in the shakiness of my voice, because these emotions are no longer suppressed. So I hope you bear with me, and I hope you're kind to me and have some empathy. I would really like that if you follow me, and I'm sure I'll get moderators' comments like I usually do, but I hope that my followers can understand it. Whatever I have posted about and done, what people have considered stalking, harassing, drama, that made up Paula M. Psyop culture and rules that were there to control my work and me and my channel and what I exposed from then on. Whatever I have posted and exposed and has always been about the content, and it's always been things that I have been very concerned about, that have been a part of what seems to be a part of a larger scheme, a larger narrative. And I haven't seen that narrative played out until yesterday and today. I haven't understood it fully. I haven't processed it. And that Duchess of Sussex claim was what triggered it all to come together. Because I look back at a procession of narrative play out from 2023 by controlled opposition accounts up until a Trump political campaign and up until now. And I can understand how and why accounts like the Royal Grift and our recollections may vary defame me into saying I was a bot account and that I was a controlled account, a part of this censorship complex. I can now understand it fully. But my intentions of when I was exposing things like the censorship complex in January, that it was all a lie and a fabrication. And the defense will be that it's not the Royal Grift's original work because it's Matt Taibbi, who is some sort of plant and was instructed to create that bullshit for a campaign for Trump's election. I think with the exposure of the Twitter files, was it? Up until March 2023. But a whole sub-narrative was created by the royal grift under the censorship complex that involved Meghan Markle, with very little proof to back it up. And so I don't agree with that defense. The reason why that was important to me, because I couldn't understand at the time, and even in January I couldn't understand why it's such a big deal, and then why I was brought into it as a bot account, as a part of this censorship complex. I couldn't understand the gravity, because I just sort of thought of it as silly and pathetic, because I knew that it was all false. I just thought it was some way to smear me, some way to control this narrative. I didn't see it as a whole narrative on its own that was being created and formed for a long time, and by whom I couldn't see that. So sorry, I'm like, it's weird how emotional I am with this, because it's, you know, you're confused for so long. You don't understand it. As a genuine person, you don't understand what's going on. And then you're gaslit for so long. Like, oh, it's just because people dislike you. It's just because you're a bitch, or just because you attack people. I didn't attack people. I attacked their content. And that was me being censored as a result, or in response. But this is the gaslighting that was so relentless, and then the smearing was so relentless that it was difficult to come out of. So I apologize for the sighs and losing my cool, and losing sight of how I'm telling the story. But let's start. Let's start with how I can see this storyline being played out. So let's bear in mind, firstly, the Barkjack account, that is an account of two fake Italian journalists that is instructed by palace courtiers and MI6, and was appointed by the Crown, right? They were the first to reveal that Meghan was pregnant with her first birth, natural birth, by a doula, and she does lots of yoga. And that they was shown an ultrasound and was told it was going to be a girl by palace courtiers or palace staff. They became infamous and gained credibility, and used that to sell their credibility as a journalist, or two journalists in Italy, stating that they had revealed, or been the first to reveal, that Fauci was going to be born, even though it was a girl initially. So the Barrister Law USA account, who used to be the royal commentator, has confirmed that they're affiliates or colleagues with the same feeding of intelligence and courtier information, and that they work not together per se, but they work online to basically control the narrative and feed a narrative or narratives, depending on what's instructed. And that's not what you're meant to believe, of course. You're meant to believe that they just have sources, and that they're journalists, and that they have all of this information. But what is the truth is that they're instructed, and that they've been appointed. And as we know now, that whole Fauci story, even with their announcement, is completely false and a fabrication. February 2023, so this is after in the midst of the Twitter files being released or exposed, the Twitter files being a massive political campaign in the US, or, growing up to be the creation of Biden the enemy and censorship, a censorship complex, and the creation of that, even though despite all of Trump's policies in his presidency, that he was the one instigating AI and censorship, that we have this creation of this campaign, and it goes on until March 2023, so a month after this post. But this Barkjack states that they tipped the public off into an ongoing investigation into targeted social media manipulation against the royal family. That was February 2023. So there's already a narrative playing out. I don't believe an ongoing investigation is going out, because you wouldn't publicly disclose it, and you wouldn't be instructed by courtiers and MI6 to expose it and to publish it, because that should be hidden until the investigation is completed or cannot be interfered with, right? So that's already being played out February 2023 by then. God knows when Barkjack first posted about it. And by June the 29th, I'm guessing this is 2023, they're saying that the line of succession matter will drag on into 2025, 2026 to fully address. So it's completely controlled. There is a separate investigation mentioned regarding defamatory online activity dealt with at this time privately, internally with social giants, yet continually monitored and may factor into future operations. From what I get about this narrative play out is simply that the royal family, through intelligence, through MI6, monitors social media, and they have accounts, controlled opposition accounts like Barkjack and like Barrister Law USA, to feed narratives and censor those that are posting dissent or the truth of what is actually happening, and they recreate the truth that is happening. It feels like at this point that this is really what's going on, is that there's no investigation, otherwise, because you wouldn't have it publicly disclosed. And what seems to be playing out is that there's controlled opposition. I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know. I was questioning this account in 2023, I'm pretty sure it was, because of these posts, because of an ongoing investigation and publishing that, and then being able to state that. And then I looked into the history of them exposing the birth, and it didn't seem true either. And I'm wondering who the genuineness of this account, right? So at this point, I don't know that they're appointed by the Crown, that they're fed by the Crown, by MI6 and the courtiers to feed out narratives. I didn't know that. That was later on looked at, actually this year, in March 2025, when I looked into the Barrister Law USA account. So this happens just before the finishing of the leaking of the Twitter files. And then I think by, was it March or May? I cannot exactly recall the month. A certain time, I'm sure that year, the censorship industrial complex concept comes out by a journalist called Matt Taibbi. And that's that whole theory has been created and published about this censorship, this military grade censorship complex, that has messed with the Trump elections, or the Trump-Biden elections, and made sure that Trump didn't get voted in. When I start looking into Barkjack and realizing that it's not two journalists from Italy, and I confront this journalist or this account, and I'm like, who the hell are you? They then block me and continue their crap. So that was the end of me looking into Barkjack and their posts, because back then you couldn't still look at posts when you were blocked. So around the same time, June 2023, I did the Baby Sussex scam. I had just created my YouTube account in April 2023, and my second video, I started exposing the fact that Meghan Markle wasn't pregnant with Fauci, which I didn't know at the time because it was so passive and so quiet with the moves that were being made, but that I was going to be censored because I was going along the lines of looking into the births of and showing true corruption and exposure in Britain by big players and by a system that Meghan Markle wasn't ever pregnant. So that the only thing that was out at that time were moon bumps, and I think the idea from Yankee Wally that there was a surrogacy, and I think even by that point Lady C had commented on a surrogacy, or that Meghan Markle had male parts and that she couldn't give birth, and also that she had her tubes tied and that she couldn't give birth. There were so many theories at that point, but it was all very stupid. No proof ever given to any of these claims. And I wondered, really why there were such claims out there. How could that be when there was no proof? And I just went on looking into my own stuff, and I, soon revealed that there were no actual kids and that there was no actual births, because of all of this, collecting all of this evidence, and that was happening around this time as well. So that was really when my censorship began, around this time. So we move over to by that time, by November 2023, I had revealed that Archwell had actually interfered in Australian policy and Australian government with World Economic Forum shell research agencies that were being funded by World Economic Forum foreign companies. So then it's, foreign interference and breaches of national security, but ones that were allowed. And I tried to get in touch with all of these. I was still very naive. Big media accounts like Jordan Peterson and so forth, Megyn Kelly, because they were the ones, trying to reveal the truth about Meghan at the time. And the Shell charity, Archwell, and Evan Envoyer, that French journalist that then denied the opportunity for that to look into this whole political interference when I contacted them. When that all happened, I took a break. And I came back in February 2024, I think it was. And in 2023, when I was doing the Baby Sussex scam, I knew about the royal grift. Her work was along the lines of security, of she was still supporting Samantha Markle. She was still supporting all these narratives. There's no such thing as all of these accounts supporting the fact that Meghan had no kids, that Megxit wasn't real, that we were being lied to. There was no censorship theory. It was just about security. It was just about lies and about the tragedy of Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. And I was the one involved that was asked and requested to look into and expose the Sussex baby scam. And then that was controlled with certain YouTube accounts to then just only discuss the moon bumps. So they tried to shut that out and then with Lady C saying that there was a natural birth of Farchi. She doesn't know about Fiblet. And then the body language guy also confirming that that's true. And also Andrew Gold. It was a whole controlled opposition environment trying to subdue and repress this narrative. And only now in 2025 are they controlling the narrative, the truth that I exposed in 2023, but they're doing it in a way that will not make the royal family and the monarchy liable for what they've done. So we get to, I think it's August 2024. Actually, no, let's take a step back. I think it's April 2024 where all of a sudden the Royal Grift comes out with a diagram of a censorship industrial complex that was copied and pasted from somewhere, and that she had planted pictures of companies and people and Meghan and Harry, or Meghan, in the middle of this censorship complex. She'd started posting about that, and it was quite a small group initially, and then it was growing. It involved my Prime Minister. It involved a global network. And I'm guessing, well, from what I presumed, I thought it was just her research growing and her finding out all these things. But I had not seen the proof, and I was wondering how she could come up with those conclusions. And by August 2024, without crediting me or asking me to use my work, she uses my work of the whole Scarlet Rouge, Michelle Lammy, Meghan Markle 9-year-old fabrication, me exposing the fact that that couldn't have been a grade school photo because Scarlet Rouge was already in France by that time and living in France, who was a friend and fellow student with Meghan Markle at the Red Schoolhouse. She used that to open up her introduction to her censorship industrial complex. And she did that she used that theory to start a 5-part series exposing the creation of Meghan Markle and her identity, which was weird for me because the Royal Grift only a year ago in 2023 denied that her age was a lie, and said that Samantha Markle and that Joshua Silverstein was telling the truth. And she went off that evidence, undeniable evidence, and denied the truth of the age and the creation of Meghan Markle at that point. And I had already exposed by that point, or around that time, Meghan Markle's creation of all of her college years, and her high school years, and her primary school years, I had already looked into it, and even Argentina, the embassy, the Spanish exchange that she was meant to have were all fabrications, and all these players would have been assigned by US government and enabled and supported. This whole narrative was played out by this system. So I had already exposed that at that time, so I found that very questionable when she started that. And she intentionally, with these photoshops, at the end, I think it was part 5 series, part of this series, she intentionally denied that the royal family had engaged in any photoshops. And she used the christening photo of Fauci, that it wasn't photoshopped at all. And that was when I became shocked. And I was soon quick to learn my place, because I wasn't meant to be shocked and upset that she had denied that that whole christening photo was a Photoshop, and that it's very intentional that she was planting the non-liability of the royal family with this whole creation of Meghan Markle, with all of these Photoshops. It felt very, very controlled, along with how controlled it was, how she was using my content, and specific content that didn't directly make the royal family liable. It didn't make the monarchy liable, but it went with this narrative, this control narrative of possibly a censorship complex. I wasn't to know at that point, but this creation of Meghan Markle that she was trying to introduce and tell everyone with this 5-part series. And as I said, I was quick to find out that that is not what I'm meant to do. Question why this has been allowed. And at that point, just genuinely as a person, a natural person, I expect when somebody is questioning that and going, that's bullshit, that they either correct it or they take it down. Because as a natural researcher, and when you're afraid and you're not protected, a protected account, when you're not a protected account and you make such a fraudulent claim or a fabricated claim, one that can easily be denied with proof, and that has been denied with proof for over a year, your credibility usually naturally should be questioned, but also you could be up for being reported. You could be up for possible lawsuits. Remember, this was meant to be a highly sensitive area at this point, and people were afraid. People are afraid of lawsuits, right? And that's why they have those disclaimers at the beginning of their videos. They have to say that it's all opinion, including misinformation. So you've got this playing out. And then by September, so in the meantime, September the 6th, I think it was, I'm questioning Paula M's little illegality with her providing false government proof that Meghan Markle has a secret daughter. And then the Psyop happens 2 days later. And all of this is coming out all at the same time. And then September the 30th, this is the first kind of video that the Royal Grift exposes, where she really tries to explain this censorship complex for the first time. And I immediately question it, because she's included accounts as bot accounts. She's included them, and she's also said that Meghan Markle controls royal rota articles and used that to support an argument that there's a censorship industrial complex. And it just felt extremely deceptive. It just felt completely fabricated out of thin air. Nothing really made sense. It just felt like a whole video of word salad. And then she included accounts that had actually attacked me. So I would be all for and all in support of them being bot accounts, but I didn't see the proof of them being bot accounts. I didn't understand how the Royal Grift could understand that Meghan Markle was paying these accounts without any proof that they were being paid, without any evidence of coding or correspondence or some sort of like showing of proof that these accounts were created under a certain name or intelligence or a company. There was no actual proof, none whatsoever, and I couldn't understand how this was all playing out. And it made me really like just something in the back of my mind going, something isn't right here. We've got two situations happening where all of a sudden my research is being and what I've exposed about Meghan Markle in 2023 is being re-narrated on top of a censorship industrial complex with bot accounts of all by Meghan Markle and Harry, and then saying later on with Trump coming out that it's a threat to democracy and that it is connected to the Twitter files, the leaking of the Twitter files. Which is very strange. I'm just thinking it's really, really weird. I can't make sense of it, especially when you have no proof, right? So I asked those questions to the Royal Grift because at this time I'm thinking we may be on the same page. We may be on the same team. I'm not too sure because it doesn't feel like that, especially with this whole, then this Psyop of Paul M also playing out at the same time, which seemed like a big distraction and a new creation of rules and smearing. She doesn't answer my questions and doesn't provide the proof, but also doesn't take anything down or correct it or take accountability for a mistake being made, or saying, okay, I'm not right about this, but this is how I can explain this. I mean, for me, it was just me trying to naturally ask, how have you drawn these conclusions? Because obviously as a researcher, you're meant to show the proof. I can't say anything without somebody saying it's reaching, even when I show proof. So I don't know how someone can literally lie to your face and then when you tell them, no, I don't believe you, them not being able to justify themselves or take it down and apologize or take accountability. But that's what's happened, and I felt like that was a play of power, of an ingenuine account with a narrative, with an agenda that had the following, that didn't care because you had everyone telling her she was a genius and that she should be applauded for whatever word salad she was, giving to you. And it was really perplexing. And that was when I was starting to wonder what sort of agenda is at play. Little did I know, because as I said, I've only looked into Barrister Law USA account in March 2025 because they followed me, and I really didn't even think of them as anything. I had already spoken, and I didn't know this at the time. I had already spoken to this supposed attorney, through a different account of hers, I think in 2023, right? Now, this is what makes me scared, because this is a very kind of serious discussion that I'm about to have with you. This attorney had shared with me that there were crimes that were committed by Harry in the US while he's meant to be in a supposed relationship with Meghan. Crimes against women that were supposed crimes against women that were that NDAs were signed. It happened in the UK prior. It was connected to the Afghanistan event. It was connected to possibly to a Sydney, Australia event back when he took that gap year over here. And there was this kind of story that was being played, eventuating, that certain accounts supposedly were looking into and talking to with American government officials that were trying to get something happening over there. And this was the discussion I had with this person. I was introduced to this account, to this attorney, through two other accounts that seemed innocent and just wanting to make a change. I didn't think anything of it at the time, other than I knew very serious information. I didn't want to divulge in it any further, because it involves real people, and it seemed very, very serious and very criminal. But when I looked into this account in March 2025, I could see it was the same account, just with a different, the same identity, just with a different account. And I couldn't understand at that point, and I still can't understand, why this person is going on about a divorce, about an investigation, about justice, working for the Department of Justice, getting Harry to come back to his father, working for the Crown, protecting the Crown, and she introduced herself, by the way, as a Crown attorney. I couldn't understand why Harry's visa was such an issue if he had committed these crimes in America. Why wasn't he already deported? Why wasn't she working towards having him deported? Because she has even stated that her country comes before the Crown. So her job for the Crown comes second to her working for her country and her government. And supposedly she now works in the Department of Justice to work against lawfare. And she worked with Elon Musk to investigate the SS bot accounts, but we'll get to that shortly. But she focused on those investigations rather than having Harry deported and protecting her nation. And I couldn't understand. There was something not quite right about what had been said to me, and then how this account was showing up and presenting itself, and continues to present itself. It was very, very strange to me, but also very dark. This stuff really shook me up. They had even said that they had seen the Green Book with all the imagery of these crimes. And I was shocked. I was shocked that I was having this discussed with me. And then later on, this account never protecting those crimes as a member of the Department of Justice in America, supposedly, as a Crown legal counsel for 40 years, to the Queen for the majority of them. I found that very strange. Why the monarchy as well and the crown wouldn't be protecting these nations and protecting us from this supposed predator, and why the visa issue would be all over the headlines at the time. Well, later on, of course. Very, very strange. But little did I know that this account was this barrister law account as well, who I only knew as a health attorney, or a judge in health or something like that. I think it was, I don't even know what state it was, but in America, and who I think in October that year, in 2024, said that Harry applied, was it October? Anyway, 2024, applied for a divorce, and they found out through a post of Bookworm too. And I said, well, surely as an attorney, you would have access to those legal files. I didn't even know anything about them. I didn't know they got MI6 memos. I didn't know they were informed by courtiers. I didn't know that they were controlled opposition. I didn't know anything about them. I didn't know that even they had any relations to the crown at that point. And I didn't even know that they were connected to that account that I was talking to earlier, right? Very, very strange. So July 2024, little did I know that this account was playing a narrative of her, Elon, and the Royal Grift, with the Royal Grift censorship industrial complex, which was already questionable, questionable by September the 30th. That this whole narrative was being played out, that there was a trio fighting for American rights and against censorship, or against corruption, government corruption, in particular the Biden corruption and a supposed Biden occupation. I didn't know that that was happening by this account, that this was some narratives being played out as well. And this account has said that they had been working on finding out stuff. It was very vague. Basically, this investigation, this censorship investigation of Harry, and Harry interfering with American politics through, and Meghan through bots, through paid bots, through Sussex Squad, etc., that they had started this investigation in August 2023. By the way, let's consider the fact that that Barkjack, their colleague, had said it already commenced before February 2023. So this is all during the Biden administration as well. So we've moved over from an investigation, an ongoing investigation being handled internally in Britain in partnership with American social media giants, to an American attorney starting this investigation in August 2023, all in the midst of these Twitter files and this CIC being published, and finding out that there's this whole censorship issue going, and that they're going to fight for America's rights, all in time for a Trump political campaign. So Barkjack's initial announcement goes quiet, February 2023, and then all of a sudden in around this time, April 2024, with the creation of the Royal Grift's censorship industrial complex, because of its relevance with the Twitter files and Trump's campaign to be re-elected, does this investigation become recreated as an investigation that started in August 2023 in America rather than having anything to do per se with the UK and with the monarchy investigating it, with this Crown attorney pretending to be just purely a health attorney. Very, very strange stuff. So this campaign has now become political at this point, with all of these players and this content that is still highly, highly questionable. I am finding this out now that this has all been played out the way it has. And the Royal Grift herself has said that, sounds crazy, that the Psyop ended with Meghan and Harry, meaning that Meghan Markle is a creation, the marriage is a creation, the monarchy is involved, Labour government in UK is involved, miraculously, and Biden's involved, and Hillary Clinton, and I think Kamala Harris. I mean, anyone who's, against democracy, against American rights. I don't know how it works, but this all started with the disclosure of the Twitter files. So by March 2023, the Psyop was coming to an end. It commenced that Harry and Meghan would be fully exposed, meaning the military censorship industrial complex narrative of Matt Taibbi was how they were going to use Meghan and Markle's narrative, fake narrative, the Megxit narrative that was commissioned by the Queen and Lord Gate and Sir David Manning. They were going to use that to close the narrative off of Meghan and Harry, which falls in line with the September 16th, 2024 discussion I was having with Duchess of Sussex, who was literally telling me that she had a secret, that the whole community knew about everything about Meghan Markle, and they just kind of needed to give you only what you can absorb, but also sometimes only not go beyond their clearance level and get permission to disclose things like the secret daughter that wasn't real, which was also a new play out, a new test, a new narrative that was false, that then was redacted in the German documentary. This is how big it is, by the way. So that was... She told me at that point that she had a secret that she couldn't tell anyone, but that everything was going to come to a close, that this whole Meghan Harry thing was going to come to a close. Don't worry, everything I said and know about Meghan Markle is true. And I found that strange. It just sounded like a sell, because other than also her telling me that she's affiliated with CIA. Because I asked her, how did she have all of this insider information? Which now makes complete sense as to how she has all of this information, being the sidekick of the Royal Grift. She said that everything was going to come to a close and that I just need to kind of like watch and see. But everything about Meghan Markle is true. And to enjoy the show, pretty much. And that we're the accounts that are telling the truth. And I said to her, well, it's very different to be given information than to be researching, it's very different to be given the work than to actually work. So, and there was no response to that. But that was on September 16th, 2024. So all of this ties in together, this whole new narrative play out of Elon, TRG, and Barrister Law USA versus America, versus Biden, the Biden occupation. And how the initial British investigation, Crown investigation of social media, which was really just monitoring social media and censoring social media, especially with the creation of these controlled opposition accounts and controlling dissent turned into a political campaign for Trump against this Biden occupation. But what's funny is this investigation was already occurring during Biden administration, during the Biden occupation. So how could a freedom of speech or their supposed fight for freedom or fight for rights be controlled and oppressed with a tyrant if it was being conducted? It is completely, if we ignore all of that, all you've got is now a means to an end, a means that ties into a political agenda of the United States of America.